I think this issue of housing or lack of housing, and then the consequence of that growing and increasing and persistent homelessness in Dublin is one that myself and my colleagues have raised a number of times, and certainly at the area committee. I'm not actually on the strategic policy committee, but I've had motions down because I do believe that in Dublin, after employment, the second biggest issue is housing, and people, if they're not struggling with employment or trying to secure employment and dealing with unemployment, housing is the second biggest issue. And housing is a basic human right, and particularly many of my constituents who come to me with housing problems, an awful lot of them are women, and a lot of them are women with very young children. And to give a child a secure start in life, they need to have some place that they can call home. And we have 16,000 applicants on the housing list. We have 1,600 people in temporary emergency accommodation. And there's 57 or 60 people sleeping rough every night in the streets of Dublin. It's an unacceptable situation. And I'm delighted that we're having this meeting. But I have to say I'm very disappointed that the presentation is really just a presentation of information that we should all be very familiar with. We should all be very familiar with what the housing policy is, and we should all understand how it is not working. And I would have rathered that tonight's presentation focused on what ways can we explore that we haven't yet explored to try and fix this problem. And there is only one fix, and that is to provide more housing. And no housing has been provided, either public housing or private housing, in Dublin in the last 5 or 7 years. So whatever housing stock was there is fully occupied. There is no new housing coming onto the market, and whatever private rented accommodation was there is oversubscribed as well. And rents are going up, and landlords are not interested in the RAS solution, and landlords are not interested in the rent allowance either. So you've got this perfect storm of no accommodation being made available, increasing demand because of people's changed financial circumstances, and we just cannot afford to have a meeting tonight where we just sit around and talk about policies that's there. The homeless unit are doing a fantastic job, but to be fair to them, all they can do is move people around, and they're using hotels and they're using whatever they can. So this needs a radical approach, and the radical approach does need to come from the Minister for Housing. Now, we've had motions, and they have had cross-party support, and I thank the councillors from the Go parties who did support our motions, which called on Jan O'Sullivan and Phil Hogan to address this issue with us. But they need to address it in a meaningful way. Jan O'Sullivan made an announcement last August saying there was 32 million extra for housing. That translated into a handful of units for Dublin. It was about 4 million. It was a handful of units. It goes nowhere near addressing the need. So we need to be having a serious conversation, but we need the Minister and the Department to actually have the conversation with us. Otherwise, honestly, we'd all be better off going home and stop pretending like we're going to fix the problem for them. Because that is crueler. That is more cruel for us to do that to them. Thank you. And just so that we're clear, we're happy to support all of these motions. We don't have any issue with it. What we'd really like to see is some meaningful action being taken so that all of the 16,000 applicants on the list get some hope that at some time in the not too distant future there may be some housing available for them to occupy. Thank you.